What are your thoughts on the change in CEO at Wynn?
Yeah, so we already planned on speaking about Macau, so this is pretty timely. There's a lot of upgrades and downgrades today, so people are staking their position here on this stock, and I'll tell you where we come out. I think Steve Wynn resigning was necessary, and the reason was that there's licenses at stake, gaming licenses, which are very, very lucrative. And I think he had to do that, or he was at risk of losing that. So that alone removes an overhang, and I think that's the main reason why you're seeing the stock up today. There is some belief in some communities in the investor world that Steve Wynn he ran a fat operation, so corporate expense was clearly bloated, and Steve paid himself quite a bit of money. So with Matt Maddox coming in, there's a potential for maybe some better near-term margins if he decides to cut costs. And I think he kind of has to, because he certainly doesn't have Steve's vision. He doesn't have his leadership ability at this point. And he certainly doesn't have the ability to go out there and secure new licenses in jurisdictions. So operationally, I think the company's in very good shape. We know the guys who run their Macau operations, which is their biggest operation, very, very well. So I'm not worried about that. So where we come down is, I think you really got to view this on a net asset value basis, right? So, we've been saying it's worth 140 to 160. So take out all the future growth opportunities that maybe Steve would have brought to the table. So 140 to 160 bucks. I think if Matt Maddox is successful in some cost cutting, then you're clearly at the high end of that range. And that's kind of where the stock is now, but it's going to open up, 8 or 9 bucks. So we'll be up, close to 170, which looks a little pricey for us. I think at that stage, you're really hoping for a takeout. Now that's possible. We've thought, look, if LVS comes in and owns those assets, they're worth a lot more than they would be under a Wynn company without Steve Wynn. Right, so that is a possibility, but I'm not willing to bank on that.
What does Steve own of the company?
He owns 12% of the company.
Okay.
Okay, now he's still going to, for a year, I think at least, still live in the suite at Wynn, probably still take advantage of a lot of the perks that he's had. So maybe there's a little bit of resistance on how much cost cutting they can actually do. But overall, to me, I'm not that excited about it. If the stock wasn't up huge today, maybe I would be. So we're more focused on LVS, which I think is the better play long term, and we're going to go through some slides. It's probably a good time to go through these slides now.
Actually, one more question on Wynn, and I think you sort of answered it, but is there a chance that Wynn could go private? I guess there's the strategic idea that you talked about, but what about an LBO or private equity buyer?
Yeah, but you'd still be, in the same position with the regulators if Steve Wynn's involved.
Gotcha.
Right? Could somebody take them private? Yeah, but it's a little difficult to do that on the gaming side because you need regulatory approval. And I'll give you an example. Like I used to be on the board of a company called Shufflemaster, which was subsequently bought by Bally, now was owned by Scientific Games. I had to get licensed in 200 and something jurisdictions. It is a pain in the neck, right? So that's a little bit of a hurdle for private equity to come in and do this. So it makes more sense for a strategic investor like LVS, or if MGM could somehow, get their currency up in their stock and do something with Wynn, that's possible.